Hi, Roy.
Hi, Ella. How's the writing journey going for you?
Well, it's quite a fast-paced process. Yeah, I've been writing faster than I ever thought I could, because we've been doing this kind of series of R&Ds, right? And then I've been kind of cobbling together half drafts in between for us to work with, which is a very productive and dynamic way of working, but it feels quite insane. Yeah, it's really strange writing about something that's super current and very much in the public consciousness. And it makes it really exciting because there's the most amazing amount of material out there. And there's also really high quality documentaries, films, articles being written in major publications all the time, commentary. So I'm not just having to look at original source material, I'm looking at digested commentary pieces on AI and ethics. But it also means that it feels endless as a subject matter. And I wasn't commissioned to write a play about AI. I was asked to write a play, an adaptation of this 100-year-old play about a robot revolution, right? Which just happens to speak to the world we're in now in terms of questions around how we would ever know if a robot had become sentient, if an AI system had become sentient, and the ethics of work and whether AI might take our jobs, labour, who owns the AI, who gets to decide what happens with it, and also where the money goes. And so questions that are super relevant. However, because of the time we're in now and the fact that it's not a coincidence that we're putting this on right now, right? But the fact that we're sitting in this space in time where the conversation is moving really rapidly and the actual tech is moving really rapidly and having an actual impact on people's daily lives, it's really tempting to then be like, all right, we're going to make a play about everything. And then it's like, well, we can't do that. So I guess part of the challenge of the process is trying to narrow down what we're actually trying to say about this brave new world that we find ourselves in.
So what were the things that you found exciting about this text?
Yeah, so it's really exciting that the original's funny. It's also really exciting that the original is kind of just about now somehow. And it just is asking so many of the questions about what it is to be human that we're asking now, that AI is making us ask, because suddenly we're having to ask what it is to be human because we've got something to compare it with. And also the fact that I didn't realise that this quite small, it's not a very long play, this small text, Czech text from 100 years ago has basically influenced the entire last 100 years of sci-fi.
Yeah.
And so I read this and I was like, this is ripping off Space Odyssey. This is ripping off
Terminator.
This is ripping off Steven Spielberg's AI, or Blade Runner. This is ripping off everything. It's like, no, it's not. It was written 100 years before. And actually all of those films are referencing this play. One of the things that I said straight away when I read that original text was, I don't want to make a sci-fi play that feels like a sci-fi play. Because it's not really sci-fi. I mean, it is. But it's kind of just a science-inspired piece. But also because the questions that it makes us ask are kind of about what it is to be human. And so it can't be something that the production can't be something that feels very separate to humans. I think it needs to feel very grounded and very, very analog and fleshy and organic and playful and kind of accessible and relatable. And so make it feel like an Apple store just was never going to be an option. Because we've seen those. And actually, to be honest, also theatre, for me, is a medium that does the human so well. And one of the things that was really exciting about reading that original text was how it just felt like it could have been written now. It's also the fact that it's farcical. It's a comedy. It's really tongue-in-cheek. It's quite silly. The characters are quite archetypal, and we're really used to seeing very, very serious plays about very, very serious things, whether that is, the oppression of the masses or if it's robots taking over the world and killing everyone, right? It's funny. What can theatre specifically say or do in the space of AI? How can it have a very particular theatrical conversation with the questions that we're asking about AI in the world that we're living in? And that's like a question that we haven't yet answered, but I think we're going some way to answering in the way that we're creating this project, because we all three of us, and we're working really closely, designer, director, writer, keep on returning to these kind of sensations, this like sensory world, and also the emotional elements of the story, which are new. They're not things that are in the original play.
There's something about a story that is about humans. Like, I remember looking at like the document that you had made where you sort of just like threw a bunch of ideas, probably way before you even started like putting your fingers to the keyboard at all. And there were these like really visceral images that gave me sensations in my body. I think the thing that we can do in theatre, that also I think is a really interesting conversation to have with AI and robots and our relationship to them, is that idea of like sensations and feelings and emotion, and what it is that actually produces emotions, and how memory is a part of that. And so there's something about like all of these things that are so innately human that it's like, how would you imagine a robot being able to like experience any of those things? And there's something about that felt really crucial to me as an artist to like be able to dive into. It's always got to be questions about like who we are and what we do. I feel like it's the reason that we all always engage with art, because there's some kind of quest to discover, to understand, to like situate ourselves, to anchor ourselves in some way. So there's something about like a piece, making a piece that feels like it is so opposite to like that sort of slightly absurd futuristic image that feels like very now. That means that the audiences can actually sit in their bodies in that moment and really reckon with this thing, rather than feel like it's this thing that's like far away that we can run away from. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
But there's something about like employing that sort of game with the audience with a piece like this, where we are questioning what's real, what isn't, what's possible, what isn't, that I think feels really rich.
How are you finding it working?
It's like, yeah, I've got a question for you.
Working on a show which doesn't yet have a fixed script, which I'm sure is not that unfamiliar to you, but where I'm being quite like rock and roll with chucking new stuff in all the time.
I really love like ushering stories into existence, like from whatever stage they are. Like I could work with writers from like the inception of an idea and talk to them about it then, and that would like give me a lot of fizzy feelings. Or working with a writer like in rehearsals and developing it, and it's like tiny little script changes, like that also really excites me as well. I was completely aware that there wasn't a script when I came on board in January. And I was kind of like, well, let's see how this goes. It's going to be really exciting. I think what I knew of your work before was that like we're going to be landed with a great script. So that was like really exciting for me. And every single time that you deliver something, I'm like, oh my God, it's there, it's coming. And that really excites me as well. But also there's something about being able to feed into like the spirit of the work, like being able to be a big part of those like central questions that you're asking as a writer and that we're asking of this really old text, like being able to be a part of those conversations and to help like steer and shape some of that, to be able to like give offerings from me that feel like they chime with you and affect some sort of like change in the script or like some manifestation of some idea that we're discussing. That also feels really exciting, because I don't know, I haven't been as excited about making a project or a process of a project in a very long time.
We had some really great chats with various academics, and they all had really insightful comments. One of the things that was surprisingly the most useful was the fact that they study not only their subjects, but also how to think about those subjects. And because some of the stuff we're exploring in the play to do with AI is about like how they think and how we can understand how they think, and this kind of black box of AI where we have no idea, we can put something in.
Going in.
We have no idea what's going on inside. All we see is the output.
Yeah.
You know, we know what the input is, something happens, and then something comes back out. And speaking to all of these different, extremely intelligent people about their approaches to thinking I found mind-blowing, because it made me think about how I think, and also think about how AI might think, if we can even call it thinking, because it's kind of algorithmic.
Although it does say thinking sometimes, doesn't it? When you type something, it says thinking. So strange.
Yeah.
It like adopts human language.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really cool having those kind of very heady conversations, because it inspired so much for the play. But it made me feel even surer that what we're doing by making a piece of theatre about this is important, because we're bringing it into the body. But our actual reaction to AI is tangible. I think often we have these quite like visceral responses. You know, if you, in the moments that you might forget that it's actually a machine that you're talking to on there, on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, it's not a human, it's actually an AI which is very good at simulating being human.
Yeah.
There are those kind of funny little moments where you kind of forget for a second, you kind of go, ugh, and then that's a visceral response.
Yeah.
Or when we hear about these people having relationships with AIs,
Yeah.
whatever you might think about it or feel about it, the response is often quite kind of physical.
Yeah.
And that's the good shit.
That's
you
the
know?
good, yeah, for real.
Basically, as a society, we need to be thinking about how we're going to be interacting with and sharing our space, sharing our work culture, sharing our ethical framework, sharing our society with beings that are as intelligent, if not more intelligent than us, because it's something that is happening. Is happening. And so we need to be able to use something which I think is currently a skill only humans have, which is imagination, to be able to imagine what that world could look like that isn't apocalyptic, that is functional and good.
Because only we can do that imagining bit.